take a PDF shot of that. So since we're running out of time, I'm not going to go through too many other patterns, but one of the, because I have a mind map, but I just wanted to talk about another pattern we see oftentimes is list view, details view. So list map view, details view. This model of seeing a lot, so just imagine like a tree, hierarchy, where you have one, you have the list of all the appetizers. And then when I click on the appetizer, it takes me to the details for that one appetizer, and it tells me all the details, and it gives me all the information I couldn't see before. And maybe I can save that appetizer. Maybe I can save it to a meal. Maybe I can save it to a list. All that stuff, because I'm looking at the details of that appetizer. So you basically have content type, which is the appetizer, or it's the meal, or it's the location on a map. It's the mural, mural location. So then if we have mural locations, then we have list view and map view. So I can switch between list view, switch between map view. Map view is just pins. When I click on the pin, and it takes me to the same details page for that specific mural spot. So now with the list view, that's also filtering, browsing. I mean, you might even have a content type that is food, meals, dishes, or whatever you would call it. It's called dishes. And appetizer, even though I'm looking at a list of appetizers, is just a subset of dishes. So filtering. And how you filter, like mapping is just a way to filter, really. That's just a way to zoom in on what you want to see. So that's all I'm going to go through with patterns, except I would definitely recommend, just even for programming wise, it's the biggest thing for design, is to match what the client needs with the patterns. And that's the name of the game. So this is, I wanted to talk about site mapping, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But this is basically what a site map for one of our projects looks like. I'm going to show you how to use Xmind, but I don't think I can do that because I'm on this computer. But Xmind and FreeMind are two tools that help you to basically create site maps. And if you take just 5 seconds, I'm sure, and on the back of the piece of paper that you have, draw a little site map, you could probably do it pretty accurately. But basically for mobile, web is very complicated. This is the most complicated mobile site map that you'll ever have. And this is fairly complicated, I know. So it's kind of a bad example, but usually it's like 5. Usually it's like one color. Usually it's like these top ones. In fact, maybe I could have just told a little story and said this is a website, everything down here, and then the mobile site should just look like everything up here because it's so simple. You can have super complicated apps. You can have apps that are this complicated, but as far as I'm concerned, most stuff is simple that I see. I mean, sometimes there's a need for it, but definitely keeping it simple when possible. And sitemap is also a good thing to put into the proposal when you're trying to sell it. A sitemap sometimes is a planning thing, so I like to get paid before I do it, but if I do a sitemap and I put it into a proposal, I might sell it more likely. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Gantt charts. I don't think I'm going to have time to go into that, and probably I've covered enough stuff, and I'll go into tips and tricks. But Gantt charts are a planning tool, and if you don't know about them, look it up. And Google has one called Gantt, or if you use Google Docs and you go into Google Drive now, you can see they have a Gantt chart. I've been using Tom's Planner, and Google just released theirs like a week ago, so I'm just going to keep using what I'm using now. But
G-A-N-T.
G-A-N-T-T. Microsoft Project is the best known, and then there's other bigger architecture firms use them. But basically what it does is it allows you to choose time. Would you guys be interested in seeing what one of our mobile Gantt charts looks like?
Yeah, it's definitely something. I
read a whole story about the issues of logging into something with an app and how it's actually a very frustrating user
About what?
logging into an app.
Yep.
And it's a very frustrating experience for the average user because they can't keep all the IDs and passwords and finding ways so that it just knows who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it smooth for them.
That's a different presentation, but I would say that one of the beauties of iPhone and Android is that you can automatically remember who they are. My bank app makes me log in every time, but most apps just say, we know this is your iPhone. I mean, if somebody steals your iPhone, you're screwed for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Not like why somebody has access to your Facebook, you know. So Facebook or all these will just log you in automatically. You can't do that with a mobile site. The other thing about, you know, mobile apps versus mobile sites, search engine optimization is everything. It's why mobile sites are so important. You know, in terms of jobs, I mean, helping people with local mobile sites, local search, which has changed in Google, is everything. You know, but when you're taking this, you know, Android, iPhone, iTunes, Android's Play Marketplace, these marketplaces, it's a new search engine. You know, I noticed that my Black Mountain app that we did for the Black Mountain Chamber, which has a map and has pinpoints, you know, it's above a lot of the other Asheville. We're like 5th on, there's like 15 different Asheville apps, and we're 5th for the Black Mountain one. We're using keywords, and so it's getting there where, you know, when Wired says, you know, the web is dead, you know, it's because we're basically using Facebook to get through stuff, you know, look at stuff, and we're using phone apps, you know, we're using Twitter, we're using Facebook on our phone. So this is, can everybody see this? So what's important here is that the dependency that you see here, so I have to finish the design, I have to finish the planning before I go into the design. So before I can get any of the development done, it's nice to be able to have the design, so let's imagine the red is design. When the design is done, that's when the programming can start. So if you build this out and you say, you know, and I wanted to show you a more complicated one for us, but this is probably an easier way to understand it. Whenever that design is done, not a day before, we have to have the deliverables of the design, they have to be approved by the client. That's when we can start the development. That's usually how Top Floor does it. And we do it because, not because we don't want to have an iterative process, not because the technical people couldn't start on the design, but because the client is so visual. If they get on the same page and look at something in the designs, they might have changes, and we don't want to start on development before that. So we design exactly what it should look like in Photoshop, and then basically take that to the client and make sure that it's what they want. And then that's when we start development. Because if we wasted our time on some features that weren't going to be included, it also helps the developers a lot just to have that design, and they need to have everything look and flow like that. So in our shop, design is so important to what we do. Drawing, the vision, and that kind of stuff is core to what we do. So then that goes to the developer. So now imagine if the design, let's say a client takes 2 weeks to get back to you. Now your design is pushed all the way over here. You can't start on the development until after that. So everything potentially needs to be pushed back. Everything that depended on the development. So if you have a launch campaign, social media, all this stuff. So this is what we have to constantly do with our clients, is say, okay, well, it's taking you a long time to get back to us. So we're updating you on a weekly basis. We update our clients and we say it's going to take us until the end of next month to actually, you know, be able to get this to you now. And here's why. It's not us. And so we, you know, this is one of the most important things for us is communicating, you know, when something's happening and why something's happening. So tips and tricks, and then we'll go into questions. You know, Unity with a little game engine, a very little coding, and SketchUp, you know, we were able to do, basically I get my interns and people that kind of work with me to do 3D modeling and fun game stuff. So this was a project with a couple of interns, and it's on its way. I mean, it's the whole engine. In fact, if I restart it. This is Unity, and like I said, this outputs, you know, we got models from SketchUp. We modeled this in SketchUp, and then we just imported it in. SketchUp is a free 3D software. Unity's free until you want to export to iPhone or Android. So, and we designed this ourselves, and you know, it's on its way. But that's the tip. You know, look at these compilers. You know, I think Adobe's getting into this too. Probably already have, but I think they are hearing some like. See, even like Flash, you can export an app now.
Well, didn't they buy PhoneGap?
What?
Didn't Adobe buy PhoneGap?
They bought the, I think they didn't actually buy PhoneGap, but they bought the company that was making PhoneGap, I think Natobi or something.
Yeah,
but now they have
that.
Adobe Edge, which they're just starting to re-promote. I noticed just the past like week.
They probably just
they're
bought,
fixing
yeah.
to go on a. They're fixing to go on a push, and I don't know where it'll go, but they've got a lot of smart people over there. And
Yeah.
a lot of great products. We'll see. Flash kind of gave them a little bit of a black eye, I think,
Yeah.
as far as their web presence goes. But.
So, Gantt charts. Ganter is what Google's is called. I checked that out. Tom's Planner that we use is kind of, it's not really a high-tech one. It's really simple. It doesn't do any of the auto dependency stuff. Like we have to do it all, but it looks good for our clients, and we like to give reports that look good, and that's more important than us than being organized with a Gantt chart. But we also have a good milestone system in Basecamp that we use. And Titanium, build once and then publish in many places is the name of the game. And honestly, I'm a little bit worried because we do Objective-C in Java that maybe we should have just been doing Java. That I should have just been doing JavaScript over the last 5 years and just did what you guys are doing, using PhoneGap and Titanium just to publish all these apps that do exactly the same thing. But I haven't seen that yet because it's hard. It's very difficult to do some very customized stuff. We're dealing with video editing that have to be viewing a video, recording a video, and finding a place in a video on an app. It's very complicated unless you're, it's very complicated anyway, but it's incredible in the layered, kind of factors out some of the stuff you can actually do. So anyway, I won't get into that too much, but and then this is just I just left some stuff from my old presentation on there. So, any questions?
Why? It feels like getting ultimately to the experience for the user that it's native on their device seems to be really a key concept, especially if they're going to pay for the app. That it just feels like it belongs there. Do you find that when you take and design something, are you needing Java or Objective-C or C++ to really